About an hour and a half drive from Hamburg is Bergen-Belsen, which is the concentration camp where Anne Frank and her sister Margot were interned and eventually died. The small towns of Bergen and Belsen are close to each other, and as you reach them, you see that they are surrounded by army training grounds, historic premises of the former concentration camp.
YOLO adventure, live your dreams, chase the sunsets, follow streams. One life, one chance, come explore. YOLO adventure, there's so much more. Dive in deep, climb up high, touch the stars, reach for the sky.
Well, today we are at Bergen-Belsen, which was a concentration camp and internment camp outside of Hamburg, about an hour and a half. And this is where Anne Frank and her sister were, and they ended up dying here at Bergen-Belsen.
And it's already feeling very spiritual in a way to know all of those beautiful lives are resting here. And, as we go through it, there might be a little akin to some of the people that were born at a certain time and a certain age, as Anne Frank was.
At first, the countryside appears peaceful and quiet, with very few locals living close by. This is what led the Nazi regime of Germany to build a camp for French and Russian POWs next to an army training complex. Conditions in the camp were so bad that inmates struggled for survival and many died of diseases. From the time Bergen-Belsen camp was taken over by the SS and until the liberation by the British forces in 1945, over 70,000 POWs, Jews, and other political enemies of the regime died in this camp, mostly due to the hard living conditions, the lack of food, diseases, and at the hand of the guards. Despite that, Bergen-Belsen was not a termination camp like Auschwitz. The number of victims and the atrocities is staggering, and among them the deported German-Dutch Jews Anne and Margot Frank died in this camp shortly before the camp was liberated by the Allied forces. During the camp we saw the Obelisk, the wall of names, and the room of silence.
Two triangles meeting here in the middle, and then there is another triangle here, also usually totally loaded with pebbles, letters from the school classes, called April 15 a couple of days ago. I think they do it maybe once or twice a year.
During the camp, we saw the Obelisk, the Wall of Names, and the Room of Silence, and the symbolic graves of Anne and Margot Frank. It was a wonderful visitor center, and we saw a brief orientation of what we were going to see on the outside.
Which was taken by the RAF, by the British Royal Air Force. And you can see, so first of all, you see this was the Belsen camp in September 1944. This marks the location where we are right now, which is marked by this is still the German Army area now. That used to be German Army barracks as well, so the German Army base. From where the POW camp was run and which was later developed into infirmary sections and into the displaced persons camps, because the camp itself was burned down. So you can see this is September 1944. So for 1.5 years now, this has already been a concentration camp run by the SS. And the results of the German POW camp run by the German army is this. That's that used to be and still is the cemetery for the prisoners of war. Unfortunately, that it might not look like it here, but that is not in a walking distance. So that was when it was run by the army, and then when there was the first wave of mass dying in Bergen-Belsen was when it was a POW camp. And then later it became the Belsen concentration camp, and became, well, September 1944, the next wave of mass dying in Belsen had started. A Bavarian concentration camp in Flossenburg, and that telegram is still there. We have it as a source, and it reads, "No concentration camp prisoner shall fall into the hands of the enemies." So, since 1943, the latest, the alliance against Germany had publicly announced that one of the main war goals would be the punishment of Nazi and war criminals. So, that is of course what the SS knew.
One of the things that surprised me is that there were no buildings, activity, or dormitories or anything left to this Bergen-Belsen camp. It was all flat, except some of the tombs that were the remains of the prisoners. Quite surprising, yet understandable. Not long after the liberation, a Polish camp committee was established in the DP, or the Displaced Persons Camp, with the aim of keeping alive the memory of the Poles who had been murdered. On November 2nd, 1945, a large wooden cross was dedicated in the former camp in the presence of several thousand survivors, as well as representatives of the Vatican and the British military government. Yeah, unfortunately, the displays are mostly indoors and different than you would see at Auschwitz or some of the other internment camps or termination camps. There isn't a lot of outdoor equipment and so on to see, but there are a lot of memorials, and the buildings that were here originally are no longer here, and they're just relocation of the remains of those that perished, which was about 50,000.
I think that the most humbling experience is to see the mounds that are in this grave area and to know that these are mass graves and they're still there. And by far, that is, I guess, depressing, but yet we have them there to honor and to never forget. Yeah. I mean, just even the outreach to survive and to teach the children, even when there was no hope and they were starving to death. These are list of classes and things that they were trying to do for the children inside the camps. And there were artists as well. Did you see those sketches? How horrific. But their whole reason for living and hope was to get the word out. Whatever way they could find. Some of those little notes are no bigger than inch by inch. And the print is so tiny. You'd be hard pressed to read it.
YOLO adventure.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. And we'll see you in the next video.
YOLO adventure. There's so much more.